Made in Rwanda is a label that isn't commonly found on handmade knit apparel like this.
What you're making, it's very unique.
But now in Musanze, in the northern part of the country, more than 100 women have learned how to make products like these out of merino sheep and Angora rabbit wool. The brand is Handspun Hope. And they say they're currently the only ones in the country in the business of processing wool.
We have local sheep like in Rwanda, but people, they don't shear them.
Handspun Hope says the local sheep actually have coarse hair, which isn't suitable for yarn. So instead, they import these merino sheep from Kenya and employ local farmers to look after them.
We just finished shearing, so we wait other 6 months because 2 months pass. So we shear in the interval of 8 months.
So after shearing the sheep, what we do, because we have our farm from Kinigi, they bring the wool here.
Once the wool is collected, it has to go through many stages and many hands before a product is made.
After sorting the wool, we just do washing. Then after the wool is dried, then they pick the wool. After picking, they give to other department for carding. Then after carding, they bring the wool here to the spinners. Then we bring back the yarn to the dyeing. Then after dyeing, we start knitting. When we are in high season, we can make even 50 sweaters per month. And when we are in a low season, we can make between 25. They
say Rwanda doesn't have a market for their creations, so the products are exported to the United States, where they are being sold in more than 100 boutiques across the country. The price for each item ranges from $28 to $225.
These women, I think they are an indicator of how every day the Rwandan economy has been expanding and bringing in previously ignored sectors, but now they're finding ways to make an income out of it.
Collins Mwai is a business analyst in Kigali, Rwanda's capital. He has been working at the New Times Daily for the last 8 years and has been following the country's efforts to boost textile exports.
Previously, the textile industry in the country, like most of East African region, has been quite dormant. But then it's upon this that governments across the East African region, including Rwanda, agreed to phase out and eventually ban the imports of second-hand clothes. So what that does is that it gives rise, or what that has done is that it's giving rise to the emergence of local, small and medium-sized enterprises.
The country's Made in Rwanda campaign is helping these efforts by increasing exports of small and medium businesses in different industries. So far, since 2017, Rwanda's total exports have increased by 69%.
I think in the coming years we are likely to see a growth in export of clothes made out of fleece of the wool of sheep, largely because as time goes, the women doing this will get into a sort of an ecosystem whereby they will have cycles of production that are more predictable, because that is what guarantees you entry into an international market.
Currently, Australia dominates the world in the wool market, followed by China. The value of wool produced in Australia averages $2 billion a year. So while Rwanda still isn't even close to those numbers, Handspun Hope's country director, Simon Pierre Duftumunchiza, knows it's making an impact in other ways.
A project that is working in the community to help the most vulnerable women. The project started in 2008. We started as an NGO, but an NGO that gives people the job.
Beatrice Mukanoheri is one of those women. Her job is felting, making animal shapes out of the wool.
I've benefited a lot from my job at Handspun Hope because I joined as a very poor lady. One thing you can see is I have a new house. I got a loan from the bank and I got running water and electricity.
Most of them didn't have account before they came here. Now they have accounts in their bank, so they're growing like in microfinances. They're making some savings.
So what this means is that going forward, women, especially women in the rural areas, are increasingly becoming formally integrated into the financial institutions and cycles, and with that, they are at a better place to access capital, to advance their livelihoods and their families' livelihoods. Yeah.
And with that support, the businesswomen have become the backbone of Rwanda's wool industry. Lenny Jokos, CNN.
Have you ever wondered who's behind a video? Did you ever think it could be a journalist with a baby on her back? Well, that is exactly what I do. I've been doing stories with each of you on my back for the past 5 years. Hi, I'm Jessica Ellis Shaye, and you just watched one of the stories that I wrote, filmed, and produced for CNN. I used to be a one-man band.
Well, joining me now is our very own hero, Jessica Ellis.
CNN's Jessica Ellis headed to the Arctic.
CNN producer Jessica Ellis recently travelled to a sanctuary in Nairobi.
But over the years, my crew has grown and grown and grown. Yes, all 3 of these girls go out with me on stories. They've been on my back, they've been helpers, and hopefully, most importantly, they've been learners, learning to be global citizens.
You're gonna be a journalist?
Do you remember when we were in Rwanda and Mommy did a story on the women turning wool into yarn?
Yes.
Can you tell me about it?
A long time ago, women didn't have a job, so the women came up with a job by shearing wool to make sweaters.
That's right, that's right. Do you remember learning how to take the wool and turning it into the yarn?
Do you remember?
You were spinning.
Mommy.
Samara, do you remember the sheep? Do you remember being out there with the sheep? We were in the Virungas where the mountain gorillas are.
I was happy.
You were happy, yeah. Catalea, and you were happy right here in a little sack in my front.
Now that brings us to one of our most popular stories of this past week, our own Jessica Ellis. You know her by now, there she is. You've seen her at work with children in Africa, and there you've seen her photography with orangutans in Borneo. Our own little Dr. Dolittle just got back from another amazing adventure, photographing polar bears in the Arctic.
I was a producer for CNN International for about 15 years. I was passionate about giving a voice to the voiceless, people in developing countries and endangered species, usually in the same regions. I only wanted to tell positive stories, stories of Africans helping Africa, entrepreneurs helping their country or community, hopeful stories for animals in the wild. And I usually did these stories on my own time by myself, or with my best friend Frey.
She was the person who all the executives went to and all of her bosses went to if there was a deadline, a story idea, something that had to be done in a time frame that would practically be impossible.
On a story in the Congo, we filmed orphan gorillas being taken back to their lands in the northeast of the Democratic Republic of Congo. And these babies were confiscated at the border of Rwanda and cared for by the Dian Fossey gorilla team.
What we're trying to do here is unique. Gorillas have not been reintroduced back into their own habitat.
The Dian Fossey gorilla team made a rehabilitation facility in the Congo called Grace. They hope the orphan gorillas will one day become their own family. You can watch live webcams of these gorillas now in the forest.
I interviewed Jane Goodall earlier this year, and she was talking to me about this conservation village that's actually beside where the gorillas were going to move.
Grace is in a village where other organizations, including the Jane Goodall Institute, designed a conservation village.
There's electricity in the university. It gives them access to the internet.
I received the best compliment on that trip from Dario Merlot, Jane Goodall's Congolese field director.
When I saw you the first time, I had this feeling that you and Jane have something in common. And I'm saying that truly.
I am now hoping to pass on this love for animals and their environment, as well as for all people around the world, to my daughters. I want to teach my children that everyone has a story.
and everyone can try to do something to create positive change.
I think Mommy's work is very good.
Why?
Because I like her videos that she makes.
And what's the message inside? Is it
the message? I think we want to spread a little bit of love all around the world. I think that's why Mommy chose to be a journalist.
Valerie Akuridisenje has been connecting children with nature in the northern province of Rwanda for the past 6 years.
Okay, this exercise is good for your mind, your lungs.
She works with students from local schools next to the Virunga volcanoes, home to the endangered mountain gorillas.
These gorillas live in Volcanoes National Park.
Every year she gives her conservation education course to 200 students between the ages of 10 and 16.
Zebra. Zebra. Good. There are other wildlife all over in all corners of the world that they have never seen, but we do that to open up their minds to the entire world. What? Yes.
Even though Rwanda is a landlocked country in Central Africa, marine life is a popular topic in Valerie's 3-hour-a-week conservation course.
Oh, look at this one.
And the children learn about more than just protecting animals.
We teach them how to grow trees, how to grow vegetables, so they can eat a healthy diet.
They learn geography, different time zones and hemispheres, and the solar system. Valerie has created this conservation curriculum through her non-profit, Conservation Heritage Turambe.
Turambe is a Rwandan word, means we want to be sustainable. That's why we are working with children, future generation, creating future conservationists.
And she even goes one step further.
These kids get a chance to see some of the wildlife, including mountain gorillas and golden monkeys inside the Volcanoes National Park. It's 5 years now taking kids to see wildlife in the Volcanoes National Park. And when they see animals, for example gorillas, they say, oh, they look like us. They have eyes, eyelids, oh, mouths. Oh, look at the teeth. They become crazy. Even some plant species we see along the road, they stop and they ask, what is this? If you can touch, yes, it has thorns. It's a thistle.
A thistle.
Mountain gorillas feed on these plant species. It's very important to teach children to protect the environment because they are the future generation.
And Valerie says her efforts are now paying off. Many of these children dream of careers in conservation.
Gorilla doctor, conservation educator, a park ranger.
I feel so proud when I hear kids saying that they want to be gorilla doctors, guides, working in hotels. I say, oh, yes, my goal is being met.
So Mommy chooses people to follow that are really doing good for others. What do you think about that?
I think that's right too.
What do you want to do when you grow up?
A journalist like Mommy.
Do you remember playing violin to all the children at the school? That was this year.
Yes.
Yeah? How did you feel?
I'm happy.
You look so confident in there. I didn't even know. I was in another classroom filming for the program, and then you're playing violin in every other classroom. That was great. That was fantastic. They'd never seen a violin before. Do you remember joining their classroom? Gatanu gatandatu karindwi unani Ichenda, Ichumi, Ichumi. Good. So there's somebody else in our family that's missing. Daddy. And yes, it's Daddy. Daddy. And we have Daddy here. Usually Daddy's in surgery, but Daddy's home today. So Daddy, we're talking about going to Rwanda and filming and having this be my crew for all of these CNN programs. So how does it feel being a video Sherpa and a surgeon?
It's good. It's on the weekends I can be the driver and drive you guys around and move the equipment.
What does Daddy do for work?
We're help people.
We first met in Africa. I was a CNN international journalist doing a follow-up to a program I filmed and produced. We travel now as a family from Zimbabwe, Rwanda, Guatemala, Nepal, Bhutan. When you live in an area, you become more invested. I get to see David's long-term commitment to his patients and the surgical teams he operates with. Some of his work includes surgically creating ears from rib cartilage for children born with microtia in Guatemala, reconstructing faces in rural Nigeria for survivors of Noma, a flesh-eating disease. His facial trauma work is greatly valued because few local surgeons have the skills in developing countries. So he teaches. With limited resources, he empowers local surgeons and residents to care for their patients better and ultimately save more lives. No matter what, we are all human beings. We should all have the right to surgical care. We hope our children will become global citizens to understand need and feel empowered to find solutions. For now, they give their books and stuffed animals to their father's patients. But in the future, I hope they will follow in his footsteps.
There's a couple of stories that Dave is, either you see the car or you see Dave. We were doing a story on a pop singer. It was Diana Teta, a young pop singer in Rwanda, and I was in the recording studio and I'm filming her producer, and there is some flashing going on behind me, and all of a sudden I see Daddy and Maya taking selfies in the audio booth.
Yes, Maya and I, we thought we had wandered off somewhere quiet, but instead we were taking some fun photos in the background, but I didn't know that we were really on the screen. So Maya and I were making silly faces, and we were in the background of the important CNN shoot.
It's this person that makes it all happen, really, because I have to deal with surgical time and make sure that he can watch the kids, and so he's a very important part of the production.
And it's fun too. In between the surgeries, we're trying to film a story or on the weekend, so it works well together.
What's your most enjoyable story?
Well, there was the story. I wouldn't call it the most enjoyable, but when I was watching Maya when you were filming in the hospital, and Maya and I spent about 4 or 5 hours on a hospital floor in a dirty room trying to keep a 1-year-old clean. That didn't really work well. That was Maya, and she was crawling around on the hospital floor, and I couldn't handle her very well. But all the other stories are so much fun.
Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Kaitesi. I am a surgeon in Rwanda, and this is my Africa. We have a child for tonsillectomy. We have an adult with a mass in the nose. We have another child with a mass on the neck that needs to have a piece of it taken for testing.
Dr. Katesi Mukara's day is anything but dull. Dealing with all things ear, nose and throat, she is in constant demand in Kigali and beyond.
This is the changing.
As one of Rwanda's first female surgeons, she has become a trailblazer.
So it's very difficult to say how it feels being a female because I don't consider myself more of a female. I consider myself as an ENT surgeon, giving the same services that an ENT surgeon who is a male would give. I'm scrubbing. I'm going in to start a surgery. I'm where I am, not because I'm a female, but because I've earned it. I don't want to say that I deserve it, but I want to say that I've earned it. I feel for people in pain. I feel for people in need. And I felt that I wanted to do something for someone in need. I feel very nice when I relieve you of your need, your problem. So that's how I ended up being a doctor.
Hi, my name is Maya Shaye, and I'm going to talk to you about the Mind Leaps dancers. So the Mind Leaps dancers, they were homeless children, but now they're not. They were performers.
So we're going to show you a clip of the Mind Leaves program that I put together with two of these girls because Kalea wasn't born yet. Maya was 2, Samara was about 9 months.
So the Mind Leaps dancers were children. Now the Mind Leaps dancers have hope and they go to school.
That's right. Take a look.
In the neighborhood of Nyamirambo, in Rwanda's capital city, these kids have found a haven from the world outside. Here, they are no longer street children, no longer poor. Here, they are performers.
Dance does a lot of things to these kids. It helps them to come together and forget about the problem that they have at home and come and focus and dance as a team. Every time when they are outside, they're stressed to look for something to eat, problem at home. But it's really anxiety, it's really hard for them. But when they come here in the studio, they dance, it's physical, they release that kind of energy. Mentally, they are really ready after class to think clearly and think about what they want, about their future.
Practicing 5 days a week, they come to work on their moves and their mind.
The curriculum is a fusion of ballet, movements, jazz, and contemporary.
It's all a part of Mind Leaps, a non-profit program that has been using dance to rehabilitate vulnerable youth in Kigali since 2011.
They have to hear, they have to listen to their bodies, to listen to their teachers, follow instructions, and also work together as a team so that we can make sure all those cognitive and non-cognitive skills are developed as they go through those dance classes.
Eugene Dushime and Bashir Karenzi were both professional Rwandan dancers before working with Mind Leaps.
When I heard about dance going beyond the stage and transform lives, I was so excited because those kids, you can't imagine. They made me realize how dance is valuable and how powerful dance can be and how children have many potentials, especially the underprivileged ones because they are the ones to have stories.
So far, the program says it has helped almost 1,500 boys and girls between the ages of 9 and 18.
When they first arrive in the center, they get boxes containing towel, toothbrush, soap, and the dance clothes. Once they get in the center, that's the first time they do. It's to wash their clothes, their normal clothes, and also to put on their dance clothes and make sure that everything is clean before they have their porridge. And they get some few minutes to rest before they start dancing.
After their daily 2-hour dance session, academic training begins. Most street children in Rwanda have had very little formal education. Here, older students go through a catch-up program, learning math skills, social studies, and science. Everyone learns English and receives IT training, a valuable job skill in the capital city. The goal is to get each child into a school and back into society.
My name is Nyomungel Pacific. I am 17 years old. I left home when I was 10 years old. Then I spent 5 years on the street.
Pacific goes by the name Passy.
Yeah, this is the bridge where I used to sleep when...
He takes us to a main road in Kigali and shows us the drainage pipe where he used to sleep.
Yeah, living in the street, it is difficult life because you're the one who have to find something to eat, to find where you can sleep, to find the water so that you can bathe.
Drainages like these are still used by street children to seek shelter.
There's some things which I used to sleep on. If we get something to eat, we come and keep here. If rains, the water it comes then.
Passy was one of the first kids that we took from the streets. Passy was smoking. He was stealing. He was really, I can say, a bad kid. We couldn't imagine how far he moved.
Before I come here, it is my first time to see people who dance ballet, to see people who can even turn on their toes.
For me, Passy is the best or the hard-working kid that I've ever taught here in Mind Lips.
I like dance so much. It helps me in everything, in all my day life. Dance it is the one which changed my life.
After excelling at his studies, Passy was given an opportunity to go to a top boarding school in Rwanda for primary education. So far, he has jumped 4 grade levels in 2 years and is getting ready to take a national exam to go on to high school. He now tutors his friends.
Because most of them, they dropped out, so they needed a refresh. So he helped them, like tutoring them before they start school. And it's on his own will. No one asked him. So that is really huge for us, the teacher, like to see it.
Across town, in the Kigali neighborhood of Ndera, is another program focused on rehabilitating street children. Charles Hazabintwali is the director here at Les Enfants de Dieu. He believes Rwanda's street children epidemic can be traced back to the country's 1994 genocide.
Genocide happened and ended at a certain period, but after genocide, people were still living with consequences or problems from that genocide. That's how you can find a kid who doesn't care to anything because their parents didn't care to anything because of the trauma they are living with.
Hazabintwali says family conflict and poverty are the 2 main reasons children decide to leave home. That was the case for Passy. Before returning to his boarding school in the north of the country, he takes us home.
This is our house. This is our room where my mommy used to sell some donuts so that you can get something to eat.
His parents were divorced before he was born.
This is my mom.
He lived with his mom, his sisters, and brother.
What did it say?
Neglect, divorce, poverty, and abuse are common reasons children end up on the streets here in Rwanda.
She's taking God, because of living on the street, then I come back to home.
His mother is proud and knows that an education opportunity can be life-changing.
She's telling me that I have to work hard because she didn't study even primary. She's telling me I have to study all classes which she didn't study. My future, I would like to become a businessman or a leader, like a minister or president, but that is my dream.
He will succeed, so I believe in him,
I want to do many things. Even I have to help those children who remain on the street. Yeah, I have to work hard.
With schooling and a support system behind him, Passy says he's found his inner strength.
I filmed, wrote the script, and produced a half-hour feature on these dancers for CNN's program called Inside Africa. My 5-year-old Maya was just 2, and Samara is now 4 and was about 9 months old.
Some of the moves, they go up and down and jump really high to make the dance so, and they even cross and leap.
And you dance with them.
And I did like that when I was little, like Callaway's age.
Yeah,
and
you started when you were Kelly's age, and just this year you were dancing with them.
And I was dancing them this year.
That's how they got introduced to dance. We visit these former street children every time we return to Rwanda. Passy is now in one of the top government schools studying to be an engineer. It is such a successful program with amazing people bringing out incredible talents in children that were once written off from society.
You were sharing a slipper.
That's right. Why do you think they were sharing a shoe?
Because they don't have any more shoes.
Does that make you appreciate what you have? Do you think? This year we left Rwanda early because of the coronavirus. When we got back to Boston, our children were wanting to help.
And trying to find a cure for the coronavirus.
And then they discovered what they could do to make the world a little better.
We're going to make African dolls. Let's get working. So you need cotton for the head, some fabric, and a toilet paper roll. And you make some holes for the armholes. And then we're going to pick a fabric to make our head. So now that you got your head of your doll and your body of your doll, you're going to wrap a string around the head so the cotton doesn't get out.
Rwandan women, they wove this together.
Rwanda is our home. Okay. And we drive to this place where it's so much fabric, and we got some. They look neat and they look different for United States girls and boys and adults. Now you need your fabric to wrap around the dress. That's a good idea. There, you have it all. Thank you, Lara.
What are you doing with those dolls?
Spreading a little bit of love because people are cooped up in their home and they want to see friends and hug each other, but we can't. So we are trying to just spread a little bit of love.
That's
so
right.
they feel a little better.
That's right.
Morebeo!
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 That means goodbye in Kenya, Rwanda.
Morebeo!
Thank you so much for watching our program.
Thank you so much for watching our program.
If you would like one of our African dolls, please just send me an email. It's ellis.jessica@yahoo.com. There are so many stories to share. That's why I made another program for you. So until then, be safe, take care, and stay tuned.